back to Heal with Karina. Today I have a very distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Ryan, the creator of the Wellness Brother approaches in Dubai for weight management and for wellness. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, Karina. Good to be here with you.
Good to see you finally, and to make it happen. From your talk, it's so interesting. It brings me to two questions.
Sure.
The first is, why do you think natural products, like they are better than synthetic ones when it comes for weight management? And the second one, why it is an issue for diabetic people when it comes for reducing their weight? Why it is so a big issue that prevents them from reducing their weight?
Okay, so let's begin with the medication one. First of all, I'm not going to necessarily make a statement that boldly that says natural medicines are better than conventional medicines. I think each has their place, and it's the responsibility of people like myself to identify which one is the best fit for this person at this particular point in time. The thing that I do believe is that the majority of people who are struggling with their weight, right, let's say overweight or a grade 1 or grade 2 obesity, for them to take medication, a lot of those medicines have side effects. Right? So what we find is that certainly through the use of some of the natural medicines we have, they may not have all the clinical trials and all the studies that the conventional medicines have, but they have proven themselves over many, many years to be effective. And certainly in our clinical experience for the last 20 years, there are a couple of things that I know work exceptionally well, and normally we incorporate them, and that's my field. So I lean more towards that particular area. So again, I'm cautious to say that one is better than the other.
Let's say safer.
That's a great point, and that's what I would have said. I think from a safety sort of perspective, definitely the kinds of things that we're looking at is on the safer side, and that's important, right? Sure. In terms of the diabetic question, just refresh my memory, we were talking...
like people with diabetes suffer a lot to reduce their weights.
Right.
They keep complaining, sending me messages, so...
Right, so we've got two issues. First and foremost, diabetes and obesity run hand in hand, right? Growing weight increases risk for diabetes, and increasing risk of diabetes increases weight. So that alone gives us an indication as to why people would struggle being diabetic and losing weight. Sometimes, or in fact very often, the medication that people are actually using for diabetes may initially help with weight loss, but over time actually contribute to weight gain. So that's one of the challenges. If you think about it, there are many people who will say to you, and I'm not fully in agreement with this, but insulin is the underlying reason for obesity. Well, what do you treat a person with diabetes with? You treat them with insulin as a type 1. So what we recognize again is that there are certain treatments that are indicated to manage the condition that over time increase the risk for obesity, which in turn compounds the diabetes. So what you realize is these two are tangled so closely that unless one is able to intervene in the kind of way that helps both the obesity and diabetes at the same time, you're going to find this very, very difficult to manage. But people have to accept that by the time it's progressed to that level, it is generally a more challenging thing to have to deal with. But it's still doable.
Now, from my experience with you, because I worked with you for almost like 14 years, I know that you are very keen to detox people.
Sure.
And your detox program is quite distinguished. So how can you describe your program when it comes for covering all aspects of detox, like heavy metals, digestive, and vital organs as well?
Okay, so first thing is detox over the past many years has got a pretty bad reputation. And I think it's fair because there are many things that are presented as detox that are really, really not particularly helpful. But if we consider that the body's own detox system is elaborate, I mean, we have kidneys, we have liver, we have sweating, we have lungs, we have colon, we have all of these kinds of things that facilitate a cleaner environment in the body. So when we look at detox, we say, if the body's trying to keep itself clean to function best, are there ways we can support that? So we're firm believers in the fact that if you can support the body's natural detox functions, we can go ahead and lay a good foundation for enhancing health. Okay? So what we recognize, for example, is that there are many different kinds of things that can contribute to increasing toxicity in the body. Things that people eat, things that people drink, things that they put on their skin. So many of the things.
Pesticides,
medication. anything that is going to disrupt function of the human body is by definition a toxin.
Yeah.
It's now an issue of dose. So we have people exposed over a period of time. One of the reasons, again, that we apply the detox sort of program that we do is for this. We know that over time, one of the ways in which the body actually deals with toxins that it cannot eliminate is to store them. So what the body sometimes does is it takes certain toxins that it hasn't been able to get rid of and puts them into, for example, adipose tissue or fat tissue.
So it will increase weight?
Well, that's part of it. In fact, there's a very interesting theory that obesity has increased dramatically over the last 40 years with the increase in toxin exposure. So that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
But what you realize is if you are now going to help a person lose weight, what you are going to be in essence doing is having that person utilize stored energy to make up for an energy deficit that's coming from their dietary, exercise, therapeutic drug interventions. So when that person uses that fat, typically what can happen is of the toxins that have been accumulating there are now re-exposed in the bloodstream. And we know that a lot of those toxins can impact on the thyroid, can impact on muscle function.
Its efficiency.
So our approach is to say, well, why don't we prepare ourselves for that? Why don't we go ahead, try through some dietary and movement and supplement support, get this person well prepared in anticipation of the weight loss we're hoping is going to happen. In other words, help the kidneys, help the liver, help those kinds of organs function well to this re-exposure through that which is an indication of an actual program that's working. So it might sound a little bit complicated, but the bottom line is there's no question, certainly from my perspective, if we can help the body cleanse, detoxify, deal with what is going to be an increased toxin exposure through weight loss, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah.